La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la salama irbai, la salama irbai, la alama yalana.
Hi everyone, so my name is Hilary Lewin, and as I said, I'm from England, and I'm an Arvigo therapist.
Hola a todos, mi nombre es Olivia, soy de Inglaterra y como ya les dices, soy una people therapist
And a doula.
y una doula.
So we were listening to different ways of describing this period, and one of the ones in England we used to use was the lying in period.
Vamos a oír diferentes episodios durante de esta fase y en Inglaterra uno de estos momentos es de lying,
The lying in, so lying down, sleeping.
reposar, estar reposada, deitada.
And this is when a family is born.
Y aquí es donde nace una familia.
Not just a baby, not just a mother, but a family.
No solo una mãe, mas sino una familia.
Everyone has a relationship with the womb.
Todos tenemos una relación con útero.
Either we have a womb, or we had a womb, so we were in a womb.
Que tenemos un útero, que estuvimos adentro de un útero, o tivemos.
So everyone has a relationship with the womb. It's the most creative part of a woman's body.
Todos tenemos una relación con útero y es la parte más creativa del cuerpo de la mujer.
This womb, she creates babies.
Crean bebés.
She creates ideas and plans.
Crea ideas y planos.
And she creates the dreams that we dream in the dark of the night.
Y crea os sonos que pensamos en la oscuridad de la noche.
And when a woman is working at her best, she thinks with her head, her heart and her womb.
Y cuando la mujer piensa de su máxima expresión, de su mejor forma, piensa de cabeza, do corazón y do útero.
And at different times in our lives, we've followed different parts of our body. I followed my womb many places. And sometimes my heart was involved, but often my head was not.
Hay diferentes partes de nuestra vida que nos vamos guiando o con los pensamientos de nuestro útero, o a veces el corazón, o a veces o demasiado de cabeza, o totalmente pensamientos de cabeza.
So the wise woman, she will learn to think with her head, her heart and her womb.
So, una mujer sabia piensa de estas tres fases.
It takes a village. Someone said that earlier on today. It takes a village to raise a child.
Toma una comunidad para criar una crianza.
And today we have to invent our village. If we don't live in that village, we have to find that village ourselves.
Si no vivimos en una comunidad, la tenemos que crear.
And one person on his or her own cannot be an entire village.
Y una persona no puede ser la única comunidad.
No matter how hard we work, we can never be a village.
No importa cuánto trabajemos, no podemos ser una comunidad, no solos.
So a modern day postpartum or lying in period, how many days might it be?
En un estilo moderno de posparto, ¿cuántos días debería ser este tiempo?
And what if there is no village?
¿Y qué acontece cuando no hay una comunidad?
In the UK and in much of Europe, we now have parental leave.
Y ahora en Inglaterra y en el resto de Europa tenemos una licencia.
And the birthing partner could be at home for 10 days with the new mother.
Y un acompañante o pai puede estar solo una semana 10 days, 10 días con Amai.
And so maybe that is that woman's precious postpartum. We hope that she will take herself through the first 40 days as a sacred time, but maybe 10 days is all she has.
Y es por eso que las mujeres struggle, esas mujeres que hay un conflicto aquí porque solo tienen 10 días de estar con alguien partilhando este momento de posparto y no tienen los 40 días.
So if the birthing woman has only 10 days and no one but her partner to support her,
si una mujer tiene solo su compañero para ayudar en esta fase,
I say 5 days in bed
5 días en la cama
and 5 days on the sofa.
5 días en el sofá.
And her feet must only touch the floor to go to the bathroom.
Y sus pies tienen que tocar el chão para ir a casa de baño.
A new mother has to drop her standards.
Una nova mãe tiene que deixar los estándares.
Then she drops her standards some more.
Después tira los estándares para baixo.
And then again.
Después más.
Because if there is no village and there is only one partner,
porque si no hay una comunidad y solo hay una persona,
the least important thing is the housework.
Porque la única cosa importante es que a casa se trabaje, para cuidar, tomar cuenta de la casa.
I have a midwife friend in England, and when she visits a new mum,
tengo una amiga que es partera y fue a visitar a una mamá.
If the mother answers the door and is perfectly made up and is looking beautiful and the house is clean,
cuando vemos una mamá que abre la puerta y está perfecta, toda penteada y bien vestida,
the midwife thinks, uh-oh.
Sí, hay un problema.
A big problema. If the mother comes and one breast is hanging out, she's just looking dreadful, the house is a mess, but the baby is on that breast, she thinks everything's fine.
Y cuando abre la puerta y ve una mamá con todos los cabellos peinados, con una mamá afuera, amamantando un filho, toda la casa feita desordenada, ¿verdad? Esta mamá está haciendo un buen trabajo.
So, what would postpartum look like for adoptive parents?
¿Cómo se ve un posparto para pais adoptivos?
And what about if there's baby loss? That woman comes home with no baby.
¿Qué acontece cuando la mamá vuelve a casa más sin un bebé?
Or the baby needs to go to intensive care because there's a problem, so they have a baby, but she can't touch the baby.
¿Y qué pasa si un bebé tiene que ser internado y ir al hospital, entonces ficar casa?
In each one of these cases, this family needs the 40 days.
En este caso, los pais necesitan estos 40 días.
An adoptive parent, whether they are adopting a baby or a 10-year-old or a 15-year-old,
Mismos y los padres están adoptando una crianza recién nacida de 10 años o cualquier que sea la edad, precisan estos 40 días.
their life has changed and turned inside out. They need the time to readjust.
Hay una mudanza igualmente grande y precisan de reajustarse en esta nueva vida.
For baby loss, where there's death, many cultures that celebrate birth with 40 days also acknowledge death with 40 days of mourning.
Mismo cuando un bebé muere, se celebran estos 40 días.
And so each one of these people needs the same amount of care and attention as love. When we're talking about postnatal, it's not just a sweet little baby born into a perfect home, into loving arms, where there is a village.
Mismo en estos 3 casos diferentes necesitan amor, cariño y mismo que nazcan en una familia que...
Nem todos os bebés nascem numa família perfeita e um bebé perfeito e tudo ótimo.
Yeah.
So when people are looking at being a postnatal carer, maybe they also want to look at these demographics and maybe specialize in one of these areas.
Si alguien quiere trabajar en esta área, podría especializarse en alguno de estos 3 diferentes casos.
Did she get the birth she wanted?
¿Tuvo un parto que la quiso?
Many a woman has gone into birth with an idea of what she thought her birth would look like.
La mayoría de las mujeres, cuando están por tener un bebé, piensan que un parto va a ser de una forma.
So the first thing we need to do for a woman who's given birth is to listen with our ears, our heart and our womb.
Y cuando una mujer, por eso lo más importante es oír a esta mujer que acaba de ser madre con la cabeza, corazón y con el útero.
We just need to listen. We don't need to say anything apart from listening.
Solo tenemos que oír, no tenemos que decir más nada.
And a caesarean birth, that's just there to remind me to tell you that it's so much healthier when we say caesarean birth and not caesarean section.
Es mucho más amigable decir cesárea birth, nacimiento de cesárea, que C-section. ¿Cómo se diría en portugués C-section? No se dice.
No existe.
That
Doesn't
woman,
exist in Portuguese, we just say
caesarean
birth.
Yeah.
in the UK we use section, and we section people with mental health problems, and it takes away the pride of giving birth. That woman gave birth, it doesn't matter which hole it came out of, that woman birthed herself and a baby.
En Inglaterra se dice C-section, como cesárea sección, como si hubiera un problema psiquiátrico y no le da un valor de dar a luz a un bebé. Entonces, tomar esa conciencia en vez de decir uno.
So, a newly birthed woman is a sea of hormones.
Una mujer es una madre, es un mar de hormonas.
But the most important hormone always is oxytocin.
La hormona más importante es oxitocina.
As Michel Audin says, the hormone of love.
La hormona del amor.
And all the women go, oh, but oxytocin, it works like cement, and that helps to create and maintain human relationships throughout our lives, and in doing so plays a key role in human growth and health. If we do not have oxytocin in abundance, we are affecting our health and the health of our child for the rest of our lives.
No tenemos oxitocina, ponemos en problema la salud de nuestro bebé y nuestra.
Kirsten Uvna-Smova has got a brilliant book all about oxytocin.
Esta Christine Uvna-Lamont, hay un libro muy común de ella sobre hormona de oxitocina.
So oxytocin is a very shy molecule. She's very shy and she's very quiet. She needs to be enticed.
Es una hormona que es muy tímida y que precisa de ser estimulada.
How do we get that stimulus? Through touch?
¿Cómo conseguimos estimularla? A través de un tacto,
Through sniffing? The new baby smell?
a través do cheiro do bebé
Naked skin-to-skin contact?
e contacto com a pele do bebê.
It's so important that in that first 10 days to 40 days, the mother, the baby, the birthing partner spend as much time naked together under the covers, lying flat.
Por eso es importante a relação entre o bebê, a mãe e o pai, de ficar o maior tempo juntos para que creen este contacto para esta hormona.
It's a neurotransmitter and a hormone. She doubles up. Oxytocin is so important that she does two jobs.
Es una hormona neurotransmisora y una hormona. Okay.
But sexually abused women, 50% of them, about half of them, do not produce oxytocin on stimulus. That pathway was cut off during the abuse.
Mujeres que han sido abusadas, 50% de ellas no generan esta hormona a través de un tacto, fican bloqueadas.
We need that nurturing to develop the oxytocin pathways.
Precisamos de este nurse, de este cariño, nurse, ¿cómo dirías nurture? De este cuidado para desenvolver este camino.
So the baby in the incubator
Un bebé en una incubadora
needs that more skin-to-skin contact.
precisa de este contacto pel to pel.
Many hospitals allow for the skin-to-skin these days, but if they don't, when they get that baby home, they need to double up on the skin-to-skin contact.
Muchos de los hospitales hoy en día permiten este contacto pel to piel, y si no lo tuviste, tenés que doblar este cariño y este contacto.
So, if you're working with a woman in the postpartum period, you may be the only person to tell her how to rest and what healthy foods to eat and how maybe to look after herself.
Si vas a tomar en cuenta si vas a tomar cuenta de una mujer, tú vas a ser la indicada para indicarle cómo se tiene que alimentar y cómo tiene que descansar.
Lying flat, not just sitting on the sofa, lying flat.
Deitarse derecha, no solo sentarse en un sofá, deitarse bien derecha.
The liver needs to lie flat for 8 hours in order to do its job.
Un fígado precisa de 8 horas para poder hacer su trabajo, por eso necesita estar deitado.
And we were hearing how important the liver was earlier on. So that liver needs to lie flat, even sitting up on the sofa or sitting up in bed. The woman who is breastfeeding all night and sitting in bed holding her baby all night, she needs to be encouraged to lie on her side. Feed the baby lying flat.
Si las madres están a dar de mamar sentadas toda la noche, encorajarlas a que duerman de un lado, así un fígado puede hacer su trabajo.
When she's naked and lying flat, it's easy for the baby to find the nipple and to feed.
Si estás nua y estás deitada, es más fácil para un bebé encontrar un mamilo.
And no lifting anything heavier than a newborn.
No cargues nada aparte de tu recién nacido, tu bebé recién nacido.
So we need to also talk today about what does postpartum look like for mothers of multiple children.
Y por eso tenemos que hablar bien claro qué acontece con madres que tienen más de una crianza.
So the physical story is what we're going to look at for the next half an hour, and understanding that what we do in the postnatal period may well influence how you experience menopause and the end of your life makes it a little bit more significant.
We need to know, if we want to encourage the women, we have to know about how we deal with saying
how we experience postpartum
cómo experimentamos postparto
will affect how we experience menopause.
va a afectar cómo experienciemos la menopausa.
If the ligaments that are holding the uterus
Si los ligamentos que sostienen un útero
become stretched and not supportive enough,
fican esticados y no consolidados,
then the uterus may prolapse or bladder or bowel later on in life.
se va a ficar abierto y el útero va a
So when we give birth, we may feel fabulous and go, it's fine, I can do that, I can do that, I can run here, I can run there.
Cuando nos podemos sentir que después de dar a luz, estamos, yo consigo hacer esto, consigo hacer lo otro.
But when women understand that they're affecting their health for the rest of their lives, maybe they'll listen more about postpartum.
Mas cuando perciban que esto va a afectar para el resto de su vida, ellas se van a oír un bocadillo más con atención.
So, a little bit of anatomy and physiology.
Un poco de anatomía y de fisiología. Aquí voy a prestar ayuda.
Don't panic. Stay calm. We're looking up into the diaphragm.
Vamos a ver de arriba un diafragma.
Okay. Through the diaphragm comes
A través del diafragma ven
the main artery,
la arteria mayor,
The esophagus
el esófago,
and the vein, the vena cava on the way back to the heart.
vena cava.
The diaphragm wraps like a figure of 8 around each one.
Entrelaza con una figura de 8.
So tension in the diaphragm
So, la tensión del diafragma
squeezes the aorta, the artery,
aprieta arteria o arteria
artery here to the, from the heart,
sí.
esophagus to the stomach,
La arteria arteria, el esófago
and the vein.
y la vena.
Vena cava, yeah. So tension post-birth,
La tensión postnatal,
anxiety,
ansiedad,
is affecting the flow, the systems of flow through the whole body.
afecta un fluir de todo el cuerpo.
The diaphragm has tendons which come down into the spine. This is the spine, the mid-back area.
El diafragma tiene tendones que van hasta la columna.
So the diaphragm connects right here in the mid-back.
So, el diafragma conecta ahí donde está marcando él.
This is where the artery that feeds the ovaries comes from.
Ahí está arteria que alimenta los ovarios.
So tension in the diaphragm
Tensión en el diafragma
affects blood flow to the ovaries.
afecta a sangre a los ovarios.
So breathing, laughing, singing, shouting,
Respirar, reír, gritar. ¿Está relajado?
affects the diaphragm, it releases the diaphragm. So now we're looking, this is the cavity, so the lungs sit up here,
Esa es la cavidad pulmonar,
the uterus is down here,
el útero está ahí.
and this is all the space
Ese es todo espacio
where the growing baby has
donde un bebé estaba.
The rib cage is opened.
El rib cage, las costelas están abiertas.
We want to bring all of this in.
Queremos traer todo, fechar todo esto.
And we'll see in a moment all of this more. So this is the uterus.
Este es útero.
This is the uterus. This is the artery that comes from the mid-lumbar area and comes all the way to the ovary.
Esa es la arteria que conecta con diafragma, con el ovario.
There's the ligaments that connect the uterus to the sacrum.
Esas son las arterias que conectan con el sacro.
Stops the uterus from falling too far forwards.
Ayudan que el útero no se vaya tan al frente.
There is the broad ligament. Broad, it's called the broad ligament.
Un ligamento
Largo.
¿Cómo?
Largo.
Un ligamento largo.
So I'm a uterus. This is the broad ligament.
Y ese es el...
These are the fallopian tubes. The broad ligament sits over the whole thing.
Okay. Los ligamentos largos.
And it's really important because it carries blood vessels and lymph and nutrients.
Es muy importante porque carrega sangre y vasos sanguíneos.
So we're going to look at all the ligaments in the body in a minute. You are going to be ligaments.
Vamos a ver todos los ligamentos en tu cuerpo y vocês van a ser ligamentos.
But if we break a bone,
Pero si partimos un
it takes 6 weeks to heal.
tarda 6 semanas en curar.
If we damage ligaments,
Si dañamos un ligamento,
it takes 18 months.
toma 18 meses en sanar.
So the round ligament, which is one of the ligaments that supports the uterus,
Uno de los ligamentos que soporta un útero
grows from 6 inches, grows from this big when we're not pregnant,
6, how many?
6 inches, 10 centimeters,
10 centímetros crece.
to this big.
Ok. Crece de así a así. Un ligamento.
Así, así. And then it has to go así
Yeah.
afterwards.
You understand?
So the ligaments have to stretch, the broad ligament has to stretch to hold the baby.
Los ligamentos se tienen que esticar para sostener un bebé.
The round ligament has to go all the way from the top, all the way into the labia.
Los ligamentos y encima tienen que llegar hasta abajo para la labia.
Labia.
Yeah.
So it connects right into the labia. So these ligaments will affect how the woman experiences sex later.
Todos estos ligamentos van a influenciar cómo una mujer va a tener relaciones sexuales en el futuro.
It will influence how her menstrual cycle is later.
Va a influenciar cómo tengamos nuestra menstruación en el futuro.
It will make a difference to whether she has prolapse later.
Y va a diferenciar si tenga prolapso en el futuro o no.
Many cultures believe it should be 3 years between babies.
Muchas culturas dicen que necesitamos 3 años entre cada bebé.
It gives the body time to recover in between babies.
Es un tiempo que una mujer precisa para que su cuerpo se recupere totalmente.
So this is the uterus.
Es un útero.
This is the bladder.
The bladder es
Bexiga.
vejiga.
And this is the rectum or bowel.
Y eso es el recto.
So the uterus, when we're menstruating,
El útero cuando menstruamos
she starts off small
empieza pequeñito
and then she grows bigger to bleed.
y se va creciendo hasta sangrar.
So she shrinks and doubles.
So, desde pequeño y se
and
duplica.
doubles each cycle.
Y cada ciclo.
And then during pregnancy,
Y durante la
she
menstruación
becomes this big.
y durante la gravidez se duplica este tamaño.
So if the uterus is leaning too far forwards,
Si el útero se va para el frente,
she's sitting right on top of the bladder.
se coloca por encima de un vejiga.
If she leans too far backwards,
Y si va mucho para atrás,
she's right against the bowel,
abajo,
the rectum,
va directo.
the backside, your
Va
arms.
para parte de atrás.
And so this woman, she will become constipated just before her period is due.
Y por eso si útero va mucho para atrás, la mujer va a ficar constipada.
And this woman will be going pee, 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 pee all the time just before her period is due.
Y esa mujer que va útero muy de frente va a querer ir a casa de baño, entonces xixi muy constantemente.
So, you're pregnant, you don't even know.
Te hace grande y no
You're
nos
maybe 2 or 3 weeks pregnant. Your uterus has already grown.
Se que la reina no sabe, estás de 2 o 3 meses y recién tu útero está creciendo.
The first thing that happens is the bladder gets compromised, gets squashed.
La primera cosa que afecta a esa vejiga, la primera cosa que se bota más pequeña.
So often before you even know you're pregnant, you're just like, why am I getting wee all the time?
Por eso cuando comienzo la gravidez vamos mucho a casa de baño.
So with massage,
Por eso con masajes,
with binding, with support,
what is binding?
wrapping.
Con facial, sí.
After a woman has given birth, we can encourage her uterus back to the optimum position.
Cuando enfechamos, ayudamos a la mujer que su útero vuelva a su sitio.
If she ends up with this position through accidents or birth, this woman is having very painful periods. Very, very
Si
painful
útero
periods.
después de gravidez fica así, es que la mujer va a tener periodos menstruales con mucho dolor.
So here we see the round ligament.
Aquí vemos los ligamentos retrógrados.
Starts in the labia
Comienza en una labia,
and grows from this big to this big.
crecen de ahí hasta el encima.
The uteral sacral ligament.
El útero sacro, el ligamento,
Sacrum.
ya,
Yeah.
el sacro,
So this is having to hold the uterus.
sostiene el útero para atrás.
The uterus is falling too far forwards. That's pulling on the sacrum.
Si el útero se va para ayuda a empujar al útero para.
Look what's happening to the intestines, the digestive organs.
Mira lo que está aconteciendo con los intestinos, están
Squashed.
comprimidos.
All of these
Todo esto,
need to shrink back after we've given birth.
shrink back, tiene que ir a su sitio.
What we have here
Lo que tenemos aquí
is a uterus.
es un útero. ¿Quién se
So, here we have our beautiful uterus. And these are all the ligaments.
Esos son ligamentos.
So, who is going to be the bladder? Bladder, please. Bladder, come this way. Please sit yourself down there. And who's going to be the bowel? Who's tall? You've got to get involved. You're the bowel. Who's standing behind here? So, just go back to your arms. The thing we need to remember is a uterus always looks like this. Ovaries, fallopian tubes. But actually, the fallopian tubes are behind the uterus. They're behind. So if the uterus falls forward,
Si el útero se va para el frente,
the fallopian tubes are getting stretched.
los tubos falópicos se están estirando para atrás.
If the uterus is backwards,
Si está para,
we're sitting on the ovaries.
si está para el frente, se está sentando los ovarios.
Okay, so what we have here, so we're just going to have our little pink one over here. So could you take the pink, the uterus? So this is going to the ovaries. This comes from the mid-lumbar area. I'm just going to tie this round your neck. And these carry the blood vessels
Esto eleva la sangre.
that feed the ovaries. The blood vessels feed the ovaries.
Alimentan los ovarios
And this affects our hormone system.
y afecta a nuestro sistema hormonal.
So if after birth,
Si después de un parto
our uterus is not in optimum position,
no está en una óptima posición,
there's lots of stress in the mid-back area,
hay mucho estrés en la parte de atrás,
the ovaries aren't getting any blood flow or enough blood flow.
los ovarios no están a recibir mucha circulación de sangre.
So this is the round ligament,
Esos son los ligamentos redondos
which comes right down into the labia,
que
darling.
van hasta
And again, yeah, just one of those things, this is the ligament that goes from this big to this big.
estos son estos ligamentos que crecen dobros no la
So we then have the uteral sacral ligament, which
tenemos
holds
los
the
ligamentos del
uterus
sacro
back,
que van hacia atrás,
ties onto the sacrum.
que van hasta un sacro.
We have the, now I need one person standing here. So this is the cardinal ligament.
Esto es un cardinal, ligamento. ¿Qué significa? Where is it going?
The cardinal ligament wraps around the cervix.
Wraps agarra la cervix.
This has to hold the cervix closed
Mantiene la cervix cerrada, fechada.
and then has to open to get a baby out.
And they have to abrirla para que pase un bebé.
This ligament is the strongest ligament in the whole body.
Este es su ligamento con mayor fuerza.
Again, if the uterus doesn't go back to optimum position after birth,
Si el útero no vuelta en la posición normal después del parto,
this can become less strong.
esto se vuelta menos fuerte.
So then we have one more ligament which wraps around the bladder.
Aquí hay otro ligamento que va alrededor de la vejiga.
So just hold on to those. So if after birth
Si después de un parto,
the ligaments aren't strong,
si los ligamentos no están
the uterus
fuertes,
may fall on top of the bladder. How does that feel, bladder? I don't like it. What's happening to the sacrum? Oh, the rectum. Oh.
Entonces, si útero se va para el frente, para la vejiga, un sacro está haciendo mucha fuerza y genera mucho dolor.
Or she can be leaning right backwards,
El útero puede estar mucho para atrás,
sitting on the bowel and the rectum,
sentado en un recto,
and that's going to be stretching and pulling these ligaments around the bladder.
empujando estos ligamentos de la vejiga.
Thank you. Okay, so the ligaments are almost the most important thing that happens after birth because they have to retract. They have to get smaller.
El ligamento es como más importante porque después van a tener que retract, contraerse nuevamente.
The uterus could also be lying to one side
Puede estar el útero para un lado
or the other side.
o otro.
And so wherever we tweak, it shortens one side and stretches the other.
De cualquier lado que esté ella va a contraer un ligamento o esticar otro.
Okay. Any questions about uterus?
Yeah, you mentioned the ligaments are kind of connected to, bowel or rectum and labia, but isn't the ligament connected to the bone structure?
Dijiste que los ligamentos están conectados con la labia y con el recto, mas los ligamentos están conectados con una parte del hueso.
Okay, so we're going to keep this really simple for translation purposes.
Vamos a mantenerlo muy simple por cuestiones de traducción.
A ligament is not an independent piece of...
Un ligamento no es algo independiente.
It's part of it's like a seam in your dress.
Es como un fío en tu vestido.
Uma bainha.
Una peña.
Yeah.
Una peña.
So the uterus, it sits in the dress. It's the folds. This is the peritoneal sac.
Okay.
Okay. So we know. So it's all of the folds of the material that just fold up and then become here, or so they're not independent. And yes, they do attach to bones. So some attach to bones, some are part of the peritoneal sac.
Right.
So some are onto the bone, and some are just part of the structure.
Integral.
Just
But they,
essential of the big one, let's say.
yeah, they all work together.
I'm assuming that it goes the other way around too, like if you have scoliosis or if you had surgeries or injuries that affect your ligaments before you become pregnant,
Absolutely.
that's going to affect birth.
How you experience birth, how you experience pregnancy. Is your pelvis balanced? So all the things that we do before we get pregnant are going to make a really big difference. Have we had a fall on our sacrum? So our coccyx is tucked right under.
Si tenemos algún problema cuando estamos grávidas de cirugía o un problema en la anca, eso va a afectarnos a gravidez.
The bony structures of the pelvis affect along with the ligaments. So the bony structure and the ligaments play together.
A estrutura óssea da pelvis funciona em conexão com os ligamentos, uma afeta a outra.
Can I just share one quick thing? This is really interesting because with my first birth, I actually had to have a chiropractor come and give me an adjustment because the whole uterus was tilted, and so it wasn't this like straight downward, and only one side of my cervix was dilating because of the tilt, and I have scoliosis. So
There you go.
Ela explica,
And you're
ela
gonna
explica que durante o parto do primeiro filho, como elas têm uma escoliose, que é uma curvatura da coluna para um dos lados, o útero estava inclinado e, portanto, só parte do colo do útero é que estava a dilatar. E durante o parto, ela teve um tratamento de um osteopata que fez o ajuste e que ajudou o processamento do parto.
So this is the uteral sacral ligament.
Este é o ligamento sacral.
36-week pregnant.
Numa gravidez de 36 semanas.
So this is good, and the fundus is kept within the rib cage.
E aí o fundo da parte superior do útero está dentro da caixa sobre o diafragma.
This is the woman who's
Esta é uma mulher que está inclinada para trás, com uma lordose,
the belly is right outside the rib
e
cage.
portanto o fundo do útero está anterior à.
So her uteral sacral ligament will be giving her burning pain on the
Portanto,
sacrum.
este ligamento uterosacral vai causar muita dor.
Yeah. Afterwards, I have some pictures and you can have a look and see all the nerves, all of these nerves. This is like the plug in the wall.
Há aqui muitos nervos junto ao sacro que podem causar muita dor.
And we want the sacrum to be happy and healthy after birth.
Temos que o sacro, este osso, a junção das vértebras,
So this woman,
para
this woman has no pain for the rest of her life.
que esta mulher não sofra
In that
dores
area.
ao longo desta vida.
This is the round ligament.
Que é o ligamento redondo.
So if the round ligaments are balanced, we have a nice balanced uterus.
Portanto, se os ligamentos estão fortes, o útero está equilibrado no centro.
Just like you were saying, if one is long and one is short, we're over to one side.
Não um é longo, outro é curto, o útero está inclinado.
And that's going to have reflected pain.
E a pain vai se refletir.
So,
A dor vai se refletir.
pregnancy is all about being balanced and buoyant.
A ideia da gravidez é que seja feliz e relaxada.
What's the word? Balance and?
Balanced and buoyant. Floating like a...
Leve, sintas leve, suportada.
And after birth, we want our women to be balanced and buoyant.
E queremos que no pós-parto as mulheres também se sintam leves e equilibradas.
So each one of those words has two meanings. So balanced can be balanced, but it also is spiritually, emotionally balanced.
Portanto, o equilíbrio é não só esquerdo-direito, mas também emocionalmente e espiritualmente.
Buoyant means that we need to be floating, but it also is a mood that is high.
E sentir-se leve é não só estar fisicamente leve, mas também
Buoyant, to be high.
elevada. Sentir-se elevada.
We want our newly birthed mothers to be balanced and buoyant.
Portanto, leve e equilibrada no pós-parto.
So this is just again looking at the piriformis muscles and the glutes. If they're tight, they're pulling the pelvis and we're getting pain here. Or
Portanto, se estes músculos têm espaço e estão contraídos, vão causar dor mais acima do saco.
and all of these will continue to affect a woman after she's given birth if she rushes back to the gym too fast, if she's carrying heavy loads too quickly, if she's not lying flat.
Portanto, se a mulher não relaxa e não descansa no pós-parto, estes sintomas podem continuar durante o resto da vida dela, se ela se esforça fisicamente demasiado rápido.
So here we see the fundus. The intestines have all been squeezed up to the top.
Aí vê-se uma secção do útero com o bebê, já com os intestinos todos comprimidos lá para cima.
The bladder is being compromised.
A bexiga também comprimida cá em baixo.
So the intestines all join right up here.
Aqui vê-se uma secção dos vários tubos dos intestinos.
So after,
Todos ligados ali naquele ponto.
after birth, the intestines have to come back down into the empty
Portanto,
space.
após o parto, os intestinos que estavam comprimidos cá em cima têm que vir cá para baixo, descer na cavidade abdominal.
This woman needs to lie flat.
Esta mulher tem que estar deitada.
This woman needs to rest.
Precisa de descansar.
We were talking earlier about special foods.
Estamos a falar de comidas especiais, por exemplo.
Nothing cold.
Nada frio.
Cold contracts.
O frio contrai
Heat expands.
e o calor expande.
You were talking about keeping the warmth in.
Estamos a falar de manter o calor nos rins.
Again, binding.
Portanto, o enfaixamento é importante.
In Japan, they wear haramakis,
No Japão, chama-se haramaki.
which is like a tube that you wear. Haramaki.
É como um tubo que se põe com uma cinta.
All ways to keep the warmth in after
Para
we've given
manter o
birth.
calor dentro.
So what might some postpartum challenges be?
Quais são os desafios no pós-parto, então?
The coccyx pain,
Dor no cóccix,
where the birth process or the long term of the pregnancy was sitting too heavily in the sacrum.
quando havia durante a gravidez ou no parto muita pressão sobre o cóccix.
Hemorrhoids, incontinence, pelvic organ prolapse, all of those where pressure has been too much downwards for too long in the wrong direction.
Portanto, quando houve muita pressão no sítio, no local errado durante muito tempo, temos hemorroides, incontinência urinária ou de fezes e prolapso da pelvis.
If a woman,
Pélvicos.
if a woman is experiencing any of these,
Se uma mulher tem estes sintomas,
she needs to rest twice as much.
ela precisa descansar o dobro.
These are not normal.
Isto não é normal.
This is a problem.
Isto é problema a gerar-se.
We say, oh, of course you've got piles, of course you have hemorrhoids, oh, of course your bladder. What, you've got problems with your bladder, you just had a baby? That's normal. It's not normal.
E há pessoas que dizem, tens hemorróides ou tens incontinência ou frequência urinária. Isso é normal, tiveste um bebê, mas isto não é normal.
The massage is really good, but rest can do it by
A
itself.
massagem é muito bom, mas o descanso pode substituir a massagem.
Diastasis rectus, where the muscles of the abdomen separate.
Diástase dos rectos, dos músculos rectos, pode ocorrer.
We need to rest to allow them to come back together.
Estes dois pares de músculos têm que voltar a unir-se no centro.
So many cultures have binding,
Tantas culturas aconselham o enfaixamento,
but we can just get online, you can just buy wraps now which will help to do the same.
agora é possível comprar na net material assim mais elástico, que é fácil de atar.
While the woman is lying down, she doesn't need it.
Enquanto ela está deitada, não precisa.
But when she stands up and starts moving around and getting back to work, then that's a good time to wear
Mas
it.
quando ela se levanta para se mover em casa, é quando precisa, e quando vai trabalhar, ainda mais.
We need time to heal from birth trauma.
Precisamos de tempo para nos curarmos do trauma do parto.
Sitz baths, massage, steams, talking. For the mood anxiety disorder, that might be more than just sitting and resting and talking.
Portanto, não só o descanso, os banhos de assento, o conversar e processar a experiência.
PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder.
Portanto, diz em português?
Estresse pós-traumático.
Estresse pós-traumático.
If someone feels that either their life was in danger or someone else's life was in danger, that's one signpost for PTSD.
Portanto, se uma pessoa sentiu que a própria vida estava em risco, ou testemunhou o risco de vida de uma pessoa próxima, pode causar trauma e síndrome pós-trauma.
The second signpost is, have you had something done to you against your will?
Outro sinal de trauma é que se sofreste algo que te foi feito a ti, que alguém te fez algo doloroso.
How many people have experienced birth fearing that someone was going to
Contra o
die
teu desejo, sem ter dado autorização.
and having something done against their will?
Exato.
And in those cases, we need to hear the woman,
E nestes casos temos que escutar a mulher.
because too often we say, oh, you're just tired. All mothers feel like this. It's normal.
Muitas vezes nos dizem, estás cansada. Isso é normal, as mulheres sentirem isso.
What was normal once
O que foi normal uma vez
was a woman was kept in bed for 40 days. She was bought delicious special food. She was massaged. Other people took care of her children and her household.
O que era normal é a mulher estar deitada durante 40 dias, levantar-se só para as suas necessidades, ter outras pessoas, amigas, a cuidar dos filhos, se for trazer comida, 3 vezes ao dia, comida cozinhada fresca.
So as postnatal caregivers, we must always listen and never ignore the signs.
Portanto, como pessoas envolvidas no apoio pós-parto, temos que escutar e observar estes sinais de disfunção.
So I mentioned earlier on, the ideal space between babies is round about 3 years to give the ligaments time to recover.
Portanto, para dar tempo aos ligamentos se curarem e sanarem,
And
3 anos entre bebês é bom.
secondary infertility. So a lot of women, they get pregnant easily the first time, and then there's a problem with the second baby.
Infertilidade secundária, quando uma mulher tem dificuldade em engravidar por uma segunda vez.
If the body hasn't had time to recover and go back to optimum health, then it may be difficult to get pregnant again.
Se o corpo não sanou e não se equilibrou após a primeira vez, pode ser um sintoma com infertilidade secundária.
So what does a newly birthed woman need apart from rest and lying down? She needs wholesome food. It might be warming soups. Different cultures have different activities.
A comida quente, saborosa e fresca, fácil de digerir.
Fresh air, the goats aren't necessary.
Ar fresco. Natureza.
But what does she often do?
E o que é que ela...
She's drinking black coffee, maybe she's back on the booze. She grabs an apple because it's quick and she can eat it. She spent 9 months eating so healthily.
Portanto, o que muitas mulheres, a realidade de muitas mulheres é estar a beber café para ter força, estar a beber às vezes álcool para relaxar e comer fruta fria e conveniente.
Once she's given birth, that all, after a few days, she's just eating a few nuts, an apple, some dry toast, and something cold that she found in the back of the fridge.
Sim, durante a gravidez, para o bebê crescer saudável, e pós-parto está a comer exatamente aquilo que não devia, comida seca e fria e crua.
So one of the things that is the simplest thing to do is to help her to organise a meal train.
Portanto, criar uma cadeia de providenciar refeições cozinhadas é um bom apoio.
Do you understand meal train?
Yes. Uma cadeia de refeições, uma pessoa faz em tudo, hoje és tu, amanhã és tu. Assim, a pessoa...
There's apps on the phone now.
Agora há apps no telefone.
Where everyone says, Tuesday I'm going to bring one dish, and so you know what's going
A
on.
pessoa faz promessa de entregar refeições.
There's a website too, mealtrain.com. Yeah.
Here in Portugal as well.
Yeah, it's international website.
Acho que em Portugal também há.
And so
Meal train.
yeah. So if she belongs to a community, to a church, to a yoga group, to whatever, encourage her to ask. So when we're working with our women, where is her food going to come for the first 40 days?
Portanto, se a mulher pertence a uma igreja, a um ginásio, onde seja que for o contacto, a rede de contactos dela, encorajá-la a pedir apoio e a recebê-lo.
Ritual.
Rituais.
At the end of the postpartum lying in, is it 10 days? Is it 40 days? It depends when she wants to call it.
No fim daquele período de descanso, quer seja 10 dias, 30 ou 40, que ela desejar,
We need to introduce ritual back into our lives. Find the magic.
reintroduzir o ritual e a magia de novo nas nossas vidas.
A beautiful way to end the lying in period could be a vaginal steam, a V-steam.
Portanto, uma boa prática para terminar esse período de seclusão seria, por exemplo, um banho de assento ou de vapor.
We discussed earlier on the sitz bath, same kind of herbs. But when we pick the plant, if we're able to pick it, giving thanks to the plant.
Portanto, se utilizamos plantas e ervas, como a Olivia sugeriu, temos que agradecer ao espírito da planta.
This is something we can do for a friend. The newborn mother should not be doing this herself.
Portanto, isso é algo que fazemos para as nossas amigas, a mãe não devia estar a...
You put the herbs in a pan on the stove.
Portanto, pões as ervas num tacho, num lume,
Bring it to the boil with the lid on,
deixar acender com a tampa,
and then switch off and let the herbs steep in the pan for 10-15
apagar o lume
minutes.
nessa altura de fervura para deixar as coisas ali de molho.
So you have the dining table maybe,
Temos, por exemplo, a mesa,
with cushions, sitting on the edge of the chair,
sentamos na borda da cadeira,
leaning on the table,
inclinamos sobre a mesa que está aqui à nossa frente,
the steaming herbs,
aqui uma bacia com os vapores da água quente.
How does it feel?
Yeah.
How are you feeling that? Oh, it feels good. A vaginal steam is a way of bringing heat and warmth into the pelvic bowl.
Portanto, vapor vaginal, estes banhos de vapor vaginais, permite o calor e a umidade para entrar na cavidade pélvica.
After the steam, we must wrap up and stay warm and indoors.
Depois deste banho a vapor, há que manter-nos cobertas e quentes e paradas.
Maybe she'll have some more blood loss.
Pode ser que isto encoraje a mais perda de sangue.
At 40 days, the bleeding should be pretty much finished.
40 dias já não devia haver qualquer sangramento.
It's also beautiful to do when a woman starts to have her periods again after giving birth. The first menses after birth.
Portanto, é bom também talvez fazer isto após a mulher recomeçar a menstruação.
It's really good where there's been trauma into the pelvic bowl, so stitches, ventouse.
Ou qualquer caso em que houve intervenções ou cirurgia, quer sejam episiotomias ou ventosas ou assim.
Yeah. Also where there has been sexual trauma or the woman feels like she's been abused.
Ou em caso em que houve trauma sexual onde a mulher foi abusada. Estes panos a vapor são vaginais.
Vaginal steams are not just for birth.
Não são só para a parte.
They're really nice. Everyone, yeah. If you do one thing from this, listening to me, go home and steam your face. It's just the same as doing a facial steam. And this comes from Central America.
Esta prática vem da América Central.
In Asia, women would squat over burning charcoal.
Na Ásia, as mulheres faziam pulos de cócoras sobre os carvões em brasa.
In Africa, they would heat stones in the fire.
Na África, aqueciam pedras no fogo.
And then put herb water on and just squat over them.
E punham águas de ervas e depois punham-se de cócoras por cima.
And, you know, who else? It's the same story all around the world because our bodies are the same wherever we take them.
O nosso corpo tem as mesmas necessidades.
So, serrada, or closing of the bones,
Portanto, o enfaixamento ou cerrar dos ossos
is another ritual we can do at the end of the postpartum period.
algo que se deve fazer no final do período pós-natal.
It's beautiful if there's someone that can come at regular times throughout from about 5 days on.
É bom, you encourage the practice from 5 days on. É uma boa prática a fazer a partir dos 5 dias pós-parto.
But if it's only going to be done once, make that 40-day marker a ritual.
Se vai fazer só uma vez, então que seja no final dos 40 dias.
And those Sophie Messenger and Yosoi Gaia are just 2 women I know that do trainings, and there will be many others.
Há muitas mulheres hoje em dia que oferecem este serviço. Estas são 2 que eu conheço.
Our training.
And you're training as well, perfect. And then spiritual bathing. Spiritual bathing for all the family, for the jealous child, for the tired partner, for the mother herself, for the newborn baby.
São também encorajar banhos espirituais para incluir toda a família. Por exemplo, aquela criança, o irmão ou a irmã que tem ciúmes, para incluí-lo.
Spiritual bathing. So every culture have bathing traditions around water. Jewish, Christian, the Ganges.
A maior parte das culturas tem uma prática, uma tradição de utilizar água para banhos ou unções.
A spiritual bath is a bath with intention.
Banho espiritual é banho com uma intenção.
It could be lighting a candle and having a glass of wine. That's one of my spiritual
Uma
baths.
vela acesa e copo de vinho.
But when we pick plants,
Quando apanhamos plantas,
beautiful plants with prayer and grace,
quando pedimos a autorização à planta para colhê-la,
we put them into the water.
pô-las na água quente.
If we're in a hot country, we can leave a bowl of water in the sun to collect the energy for the whole day.
Se estamos num país quente, podemos pôr uma bacia de água fria para recolher a energia da planta.
And then you can sit with your feet in the bowl and splash the water so it all comes through all your auras.
E, portanto, metes os pés na bacia de água e espalhas a água por cima de ti, borrifas-te.
Or you can get some rosemary
Ou se tens, por exemplo, alecrim,
and you just get in the shower
ou estás a tomar duche e esfregas ramos de alecrim.
or you put it into the bath water and just mash it in and smell and
Ou pões na água do banho e esfregas com essa água.
we're bringing intention and plants and water to cleanse and restore us.
Portanto, estamos a associar intenção e plantas e água para nos rejuvenescermos e para nos curarmos.
Take the little child into the garden,
Leva a criança para o jardim,
let them pick the plants,
deixa que a criança escolha e colha as plantas.
let them mash them into... Do you have paddling pools here?
Yes.
Yeah, but mash them into the paddling pool.
Ensina a criança a brincar com as plantas naquelas piscininhas de
And then
criança.
splash, splash,
Depois
splash.
se borrife com ela para que aprenda.
That will help a child. It will just wash away the trauma and the jealousy and the lack.
E ajuda a criança a curar-se a si própria e a limpar-se daqueles sentimentos e emoções negativas.
So every culture has its own form of spiritual bathing.
Todas as culturas têm a sua forma de banhos espirituais.
Find one that works for you,
Escolhe uma que te faça sentido,
or make one up.
ou então inventa uma.
Because a ritual is something that we arrive at with grace and intention.
Porque o ritual é algo a que chegamos com intenção e com sentimento.
And a ritual is what we need to mark an event.
O ritual é algo que precisamos para marcar o evento.
It's not just squeezing a baby out and then getting a card and a balloon.
Não é um facto de
Squeezing a baby out and then you get a nice card and a balloon.
não é uma questão de expulsar o bebê, receber balão e cartão.
So vaginal steaming was not something that we ever learned about in my program, but it's becoming more and more popular, which is great. Do you have like a resource you could share about it, or are there specific herbs that you like?
I have a resource, and please, all of you who would like to get any more information, email me at hilarylewin@gmail.com and I will send you the information. But they're just the same as the sitz herbs, really. It's the nice aromatic. You don't use essential oils.
Portanto, eu estava tendo aprendido sobre ervas, nunca aprendi esta prática de banhos de vapor vaginais. A Hilary convida-nos a contactá-la para obter fonte de informação. Uma coisa a não utilizar é óleos essenciais. Nos banhos vaginais, não.
And not sage, because sage is drying.
Não sei.
Not sage. Don't want to dry those.
E sálvia também não.
And were you, I'm sorry, and were you recommending it, when you were recommending it for menstruation, were you recommending it for during bleeding?
No,
or
so
before
for
or
painful
after?
menstruation, you would use it hopefully just the day before your period starts, so you won't steam when you're bleeding heavily.
São os banhos de vapor vaginais relacionados com problemas menstruais, devem ser feitos imediatamente antes da menstruação, não durante a menstruação. Antes.
So you will steam at the beginning, or just before, or at the beginning with the brown spotting, or at the end with the spotting.
Ok. Então após a menstruação.
We are not alone. Now the reason for this picture is, first of all, that's me getting married a couple of years ago with all my friends, and it's always a good opportunity to use this picture.
Gosto desta imagem porque nós não estamos sós.
You're in white.
That's my husband. All the women wore red.
A fotografia do meu casamento, aqui há 2 anos atrás, onde está o meu marido.
But the point is, you need to find your village.
Mas o importante é que encontres a tua aldeia
And you need to surround yourself with a village.
e tens que rodear com essa aldeia.
And you need to help your women who are birthing to find their villages as well.
Portanto, tens que ajudar as mulheres que estás a apoiar para que elas utilizem a sua própria aldeia.
So just before I finish, there is the work that I do, Arvigo therapy, comes from the Maya tradition.
Do
And
you want to write Arvigo?
yes, I'll write it up in a minute.
Portanto, a terapia que eu pratico chama-se Arvigo Therapy, vem da tradição maia.
And the goddess Ixchel,
E a deusa Ixchel,
is she has 3 parts, like so many goddesses. She has the maiden, the mother, and the wise woman. Ixchel.
Ixchel tem 3 partes, que é, portanto, a virgem, a mãe e a sábia.
When we see her as the maiden,
Como quando a contemplamos como a virgem,
she has a snake on her head
ela tem uma serpente na
and she's
cabeça
weaving.
e ela está a tecer.
The snake is intuitive wisdom and she's creative.
A cobra é a sabedoria intuitiva e ela está a criar ao tecer.
When we see her as the wise woman,
Quando a contemplamos como sábia,
she has the snake on her head for healing, she has herbs, she has water, she's got it all, she's everything, she's almighty.
ela tem a cabeça, a serpente na cabeça, viva, também tem ervas, tem água, ela tem tudo.
When we see her as the mother,
Quando a vemos como mãe,
she's sitting in a crescent moon.
ela está numa lua crescente, sentada na lua crescente.
That symbolises the cycles.
Isso simboliza os ciclos.
She's holding a ginormous bunny rabbit.
Ela está com enorme coelho ao colo.
Because the rabbit is the sign of fertility.
O coelho é símbolo da fertilidade.
She has no snake on her head for healing or intuitive wisdom.
Não tem cobra na cabeça para sabedoria intuitiva e cura.
She has no herbs and no water.
Não tem água nem ervas.
Because when you're holding the bunny, all you can do is hang on to that bunny. And someone else has to take charge of all the other jobs.
Quando estás com este enorme coelho ao colo, é tudo que podes fazer. As outras pessoas têm que fazer tudo o resto.
So sometimes you just need to stop and hold the bloody bunny.
Às vezes o que tens que fazer é sentar-te e segurar no coelhão.
And you need to ask for what you need.
Pedir aquilo que necessitas.
So if you are being a carer and you are caring for other people, who's holding your bunny?
Portanto, se estás a cuidar de alguém, a apoiar, alguém que está a cuidar do coelho.
And are you asking for the help that you need to be able to help other people?
Tu próprio, como apoiante, estás a precisar de receber ajuda para ajudar uma outra pessoa. Pode perceber? You're saying that the person who's providing help also needs help.
Yes. Yes. The only way you can fill someone else's cup if someone else is looking after your back.
Portanto, se estás a prestar ajuda a alguém, alguém tem que estar a prestar ajuda a ti.
So I'm Hilary Lewin. I am an Arvigo therapist. It's the Arvigo techniques. If you Google Arvigo therapy, you will find out much more about it.
Portanto, esta é a técnica que eu utilizo, podem procurar.
It's a type of massage which is about strengthening the ligaments and bringing the uterus into optimum health.
Portanto, é uma terapia relacionada com o ajuste dos ligamentos e restabelecer saúde ventral.
It's amazing for menstrual problems, for digestive problems, for fertility, for pregnancy and for postpartum.
Portanto, é bom para problemas digestivos, reprodutivos, durante a gravidez e durante o pós-parto.
But this is just one culture. Every culture will have its own tradition of uterine and belly massage.
Portanto, esta é só uma tradição. Cada tradição terá a sua sabedoria e técnicas.
And it's very simple. Just rubbing your belly is helpful. If that's the least you do, just rub your belly. Just thinking of the ligaments that hold your uterus in position. Just supporting your belly. Just breathing into your back so the blood flow is going to the ovaries.
Portanto, seja o que for, não sabem, mas não mais nada, massagem a vossa barriga. Massagem para que a energia flua e massajar as costas. Rub your back for what?
Yeah, rub your back so the blood flow gets to the ovaries.
Para que a energia, portanto, circule nos ovários e nos rins.
Laugh, cry, shout, breathe.
Grita, chora, rite e respira e ama.
All of those will help the whole of the belly be happy.
Isso tudo vai ajudar a saúde abdominal.
So that brings us back to Layla B, who comes from Morocco, and she has made a beautiful workshop all about Moroccan postpartum.
Portanto, estou aqui a chamar a atenção novamente para a Leila B, que vem de Marrocos e que nos ensina estes 5 pontos.
We honour her, we welcome her, we nurture her, we clothe her, and we celebrate her. And it's never too late to do that. Even if you had your baby 50 years ago, you can be honoured, you can be welcomed, you can be nurtured, you can be clothed, and you can be celebrated.
E nunca é tarde mais para fazer prestar estas 5 serviços a uma mulher, mesmo tendo aqui, aliás, 50 anos atrás. Se nunca recebeu isto.
I'm not